Hey, what's up? This is Big Grime. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving some advice, maybe advice I wish I had when I was coming up and trying to make music. A lot of these advices are my opinion, and it's not just for beginners. Anybody can really probably take some away from this list of advice. Advice number one, don't sell your old gear. Now, there are times where you have to and you should sell your gear, but generally speaking, like, don't sell your old gear, because I've seen many times, and I fall victim to this. I regret selling it. I don't care if it's 3 months, a year later, you may run into a situation where it's like that old piece of gear did that one thing that would fit your situation right now. So you start to regret selling your old gear. Box it up. Keep it in a climate control environment so it'll stay safe. Can be a great way to save money. I did a whole video on whether your music equipment is a great investment. Go ahead and check that out. But it can be a decent way just to save money, because when you need it, you can always sell it. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to create music that's out of the norm, or maybe you think people won't like. Why would I want to do that? Because through your journey of creating different kinds of music, you pick up different techniques, and especially if you do research and listen to other types of music and really just try to create something different. And hell, you might even have great sample material. You go back and you sample this music, and now you created something different. Don't want to get stuck doing the same things. Stretch your legs, stretch your mind, expand your mind, and really just go out there and do something different. Try to incorporate some live instruments. I don't care if it's a percussion, just anything, any live instruments, just because when you use live instruments, nothing beats that. I don't care what software comes out, what sampler, hardware, keyboard, nothing. I don't care what comes out. Nothing's better than a real live instrument. And the more that you incorporate in your music gives your total sound a real experience. You don't need a manager until you have enough business that needs to be managed. If you don't have any business that needs to be taken care of, then what's the point of having a manager? Now, you don't have any contacts. You don't have any deals. You just have a bunch of beats. You don't need a manager. I mean, if all you got is a bunch of beats, then that makes you one big lamb chop. Just somebody to eat off of, because you ain't got nothing else going on. As a manager, if I gotta go and get all your business and get everything going, and all you got is beats, yeah, I'm gonna eat off of you, and my friends, they gonna eat off you too. I don't care what anybody say. If all you got is beats, you are a feast, period. Don't pay someone to listen to your beats. I don't care how big the producer name is. I don't care how many hit records they have. They basically are going to tell you how to do your beat in the way that they view it, the way they see it. And then, just like in my last video talking about, whether your music is good or not, no one can tell you how to be you. Because to me, that's what creating music is about. That's for me. When I create music, this is me. It'd be like me asking you on advice on how to walk or how to talk. Now, if I want to fit in a situation or fit in an environment, then maybe I can see where you would go to someone for advice. Say, hey, look, I don't fit in this environment. I want to fit in. That's if you want to fit in. I don't care about fitting in. I want to do me and be myself. No one can tell me how to be me more than me. I mean, let's be honest here. So for me, my advice would be is I would never pay. I don't care how successful you are. I don't care how good you are. I'm never going to pay someone to listen to my beats. Do not give free beats or free music to someone who say they just got signed. Man, this is something that I've heard so many times. People will say, oh, I just got signed to Def Jam. I just got signed to Universal. And the thing is, it's so easy to get them that they're lying. But like this one situation where the guy says he got signed to Universal. So I made up a name. I don't know, let's just say, oh, so you must have got in touch with Mr. Johnson at Universal, because he's the one that handles that department. And they'll be like, yeah, I talked to him. And I just made the name up. It's like people try to say, oh, I got signed, or I'm talking to someone, or I'm under a certain management, trying to convince you that, hey, they about to blow up and that you need to give them free beats. 9 times out of 10, they're lying. Then on top of that, if they're truly getting signed, that means they have a budget. Pay me. Never throw away beats. Like in my last video, I talked about sampling from your old beats. That's one reason why you should never throw away beats. There was one time I had like 3 artists in, and they were listening to my tracks, and they asked me if I had more tracks after listening to a lot of beats. I said, well, I do got some on these discs, but these were like old discs. They were probably like 7 years old, 6 years old at the time. Of course, over time, you get better and you use better sounds and have better equipment, etc. And they really wanted to listen to those. And I really never played those beats to anyone because they were like considered trash. But I always had the mindset of holding to all my stuff. So I played it to them. I ended up selling them like 3 or 4 beats out of these old beats. And they weren't really, I guess they really weren't trash, but they really weren't the style at the time. And I didn't think anybody would want them. So never throw away your beats. Hold on to everything, because you can always go back and you never know what people are like. As far as equipment, start small. I don't care how much money you have. Just start small and learn. And as your talent and your knowledge of music and equipment grows, then your equipment grows. Because going to expensive equipment and you don't really know what you're doing, you actually might be disappointed, because if you don't really know what you're doing, it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have. I knew someone at the time when the Korg Triton was out, and he bought a Korg Triton. He really didn't know nothing about music. He really didn't use it that much. It actually discouraged him. He ended up selling it. So it's like, I would say, if you're just starting out, or whatever level that you're on, start out with those type of equipment and then work your way up to the bigger ones. That way you can make the most out of it. Never lend out your equipment without a contract or a deposit. You're going to be mad when you lend out your gear to someone and you get it back and you see that something's wrong. Now, it's possible that the person didn't mistreat your gear and it just happened, but you're going to be mad. You know what I'm saying? So just get a contract saying it's, if something's broken. Also go over it with them, show them that it works, because you don't want them to say, well, that was already broken. And I don't care how good of friends you are, when it comes to stuff like that, people will lie and say, maybe they did drop it on the floor and they thought nothing went wrong with it. And then when you go to play with it, there's something wrong. People that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? So always have a contract, always have a deposit. That way, if something goes wrong, they lose their deposit. And when they bring it back, you look over it and check everything to make sure everything is working. And then you're good. Never let someone add anything to your beat without a contract. I've seen stories of people taking beats from someone just by adding a little bit to it and then claiming it as their own. You want to have it established of what the relationship is, and just have it on paper that they added something to it. This is your percentage, that's their percentage. Because when you kind of just work together and you're just having fun as artists, we just like to work. We just like to create. We don't really think about the business side of it. But never, I don't care if it's the smallest thing, because there are people who go to studio sessions just to give advice or add a little bit of something to it so their name can be put on that track as a producer. So definitely be careful with that and always have an agreement before doing that. It's okay to take a break. A week, 2 weeks, a month. Sometimes we have to step away and do something else to come back with a bunch of ideas. I've taken breaks, you know, over the years where I didn't do any music. I didn't go in the studio at all. And it was a much needed break. So don't be afraid to do that. You might have something going on in your life. Don't feel bad because you don't go into the studio. And I have felt bad, like in the past, like if I didn't go, like, damn, man, I haven't made no music, you know. And it's like, sometimes you need that break. So if you need it, take it. Listen to music outside your genre. Outside the genre that you create, listen to other kinds of music, because basically we have a bunch of ideas in our mind that we pull from different sources. And if I, let's say I make trap beats, if all I listen to is trap, then I'm just going to continue to pull from the same sounds, the same melodies, the same patterns, where when you listen to just something totally different, even if you don't remember, but in your mind it's there, like that riff, that drum pattern, whatever it is, it's in there, and you can pull it from your mind later. So it's kind of like when you listen to different kinds of music, you're putting in information that you can pull from later. Keep your equipment in great condition and always keep the boxes in manual. Why? Because if you have to sell it, that's one of the biggest selling points that you have versus other people. Now I know what you're thinking. My very first advice was don't sell your gear. And I still stick by that. Don't sell your gear. But things happen. You might get into some type of financial crisis that you do need to offload some gear and get the extra cash. Keep the boxes and the manual. I know it seems like a hoarder. It can take up space, especially if you have a lot of gear. But if I'm selling a piece of gear for $300, that's like the going rate. Somebody else is selling the same piece of gear for $300. I have the box and manual, he don't. Who are you gonna buy from? Let's say the condition's the same. But here's the thing, even if both ours look the same, it looks great, you're gonna naturally assume I probably took better care of it because I still have the box and manual. And I keep the plastic, I keep everything because I want to put it back together. And when I deliver it to him, I want to give that person the brand new experience. The experience of open the plastic, the whole nine, and then that leaves a warm, cozy feeling versus just throwing it in the box and then you just get it as is. So keep the manuals, keep the plastic, keep stickers, whatever it came with it, keep it. That way, when you sell it, you're giving that person a great experience. Try to master your current gear before you buy new gear. I got the Korg Kronos, and anytime I'm like gassing for new gear, like keyboards or anything, I go on the Kronos and I really deep dive and try to create whatever this new thing is going to do on the Kronos. And the reason why I choose the Kronos is because it's such a powerful keyboard. Literally have kept me from buying a lot of gear, because every time I lust for a new piece of gear and I go on the Kronos, and then it's like, I can kind of do that on the Kronos. You know, like it's like the Kronos keeps me from buying new gear. You know what I'm saying? Like I can do a lot on here, and it's like it really satisfied that itch that I have to buy new gear. So I would suggest just try to master your gear, really deep dive and say, yo, do I really need this new piece of gear? And a lot of times you probably find out you don't. And the last advice is, should I use Splice or other loop marketplaces? No.